My name is David Coleman. I'm a former Royal Marines Commando, now owner of Civvy2Commando, Royal Marines Preparation Company. And today I'm going to talk to you about joining the Royal Marines, the application process, everything that you will be expected to do down at training, and the journey from there afterwards into life as a commando. So I joined the Royal Marines at 16 years old back in 2008. I went on to pass training first time, and I was sent to 4-5 Commando, where I deployed on Herrick 14 to Afghanistan at 18 years old, where I was injured by a grenade, and I did migrant crisis details and many other trips. But what I want to talk to you about now is the very, very start of the journey. So you're a young lad or girl, you've registered your interest at the careers office, and what happens now? So you would walk into the careers office or contact your AFCO, Armed Forces Careers Officer, and you would register your interest and sign up. From here, you can apply for the Royal Marines, the British Army, the Royal Navy, the RAF, whatever you want to do. And this is where you'll be given all of the information, all of the paperwork to take away, a rough guidance on how long the application process will take, roughly, and everyone's different, but from start to finish, if everything goes well, you're probably looking around 6 months. And this is the time where you will start to build up a bit of a bigger picture, an understanding into what you're going to be doing, and any sort of training you can do to help better yourself along the way. So now you've registered your interest, you've signed up, signed on the dotted line. The next phase in your journey or pathway is going to be your interview. So for me, someone who's grown up with a stammer, this was horrendous. I was panicking about this bit big time because I don't do well in pressure things with talking. It's not so bad now, but this was something that I overthought a lot. And my main tip here is don't overthink it. Not a lot of people I've ever heard of fail the interview. It's more to see who you are and what you're about. They'll ask you everything that you've been up to, and this is a chance to sell yourself. I always say to people, don't sell yourself short. Tell them everything that you've done, all the sport that you've played, all of the things that you have that are transferable skills to the military. Sport is working as a team. Being a captain for a sports team is being a team leader. So all these things, all these skills, make sure you sell yourself well. Also, prepare well on the military knowledge, on the Victoria Cross winners, on your core dates, birth of the Royal Marines, 28th of October, 1664, all the good stuff. Make sure you are brushed up and swept up, because this shows you've done your homework, and they want to know that you have actually looked into this and you're not just someone signing up on impulse. All of the main normal interview tips, which anyone would sort of give to someone, apply here. So be 5 minutes early, be 10 minutes early. Wear a suit, come smart, be confident, shake hands, eye contact, all of the good stuff. Now, once you've passed your interview, the next stage for you is going to be a medical. And this is everything from an eye test to a hearing test to a full check through your medical records to make sure you are physically capable, mentally capable to endure Royal Marines training, which is obviously a long and arduous task and very taxing on the body and the mind. Now, as long as you are successful at all of these stages, you will then move on to the PJFT, the pre-joining fitness test. So the pre-joining fitness test, for me, when I did this, it used to be a 1.5 mile run in 12 minutes, and then a 1.5 mile run, best effort, 10.5 minutes or under. You had to do maximum press-ups up to 60 to the beep, 85 sit-ups to the beep maximum, and the minimum of 6 pull-ups. Now, with everything that the Royal Marines do, form is critical. They are very, very anal on form. So if you're doing these crazy chicken dipper press-ups, they're not going to work here. Get on YouTube and study proper Royal Marines form, because you have to be elbows tucked in, not flared out. Sit-ups, fingers must be against your temple and your elbows touching your knees, and pull-ups are overarm with a dead hang and chin over the bar. So there's lots of very strict form to pay attention to. You don't want to get that fit, work that hard, and then fail on form. That'd be the worst thing to do. And with everything we do, it's attention to detail. So video yourself doing it when you're training back at home. Check your form. have someone check it for you, and then compare it to the videos that are available online. Once you've passed your pre-joining fitness test, you would then be expected to prepare towards your CPC, the Candidate Preparation Course, which is when you travel down to the Commando Training Centre Royal Marines in Lympstone, Devon, and carry out a series of arduous tests over a 3-day period. So what comes next is the CPC, the Candidate Preparation Course, which is held down at the Commando Training Centre, Royal Marines at Lympstone. So you have to go and get the train to Lympstone Commando. It has its own train station that you're only allowed to use if you have business with the camp. So you've been met by an instructor and you've been taken onto the training camp. And now you have to complete a series of physical tests over 2 days, finding out your results on the 3rd day. And if you've passed it all, you can then progress into a troop. So the first stage is the bleep test, which for those of you that don't know, it's a series of like shuttle runs, and you have to run to one side, beep, run back, beep. As you progress throughout the levels, it gets harder and harder, the beeps become shorter and shorter, and you have to run quicker and quicker. Pass mark here is 10.5 as a minimum, so always aim for higher. The reason being, if you can only hit 10.5, and on this particular day, the warm-up's really hard, or you don't feel well, or you're struggling, you've got no fudge factor there. So always aim for at least a level over, if you can. And that's going to help you if you have any nightmares on the day. Next up is the RMFA, the Royal Marines Fitness Assessment, which is a press-up, sit-up, and pull-up test, all to the beep, ensuring perfect form as you are demonstrated. So the minimum pass scores for the press-ups are 30, with the top score being 60. Aim for the top scores, all right? So these are done to a beep. So it's beep, beep, and that's how you have to perform them. Under control, without any poor form. The sit-ups, minimum score 40, top score 85. Again, aim for the top scores. You want to know you've got plenty of fudge factor in the tank, so you aren't going to fall short when you come to the day. And then the pull-up test, which is on a sort of wooden beam. So rather than a bar that you can get your hands around like this, you're looking like this over grip. Minimum score 4, maximum score 16. Aim for the top scores. Now, prior to going down, I could bang out 19 overarm pull-ups. I gave myself that extra preparation. This was one thing that I was quite good at. And I had that confidence going down, knowing I was going to pass. Don't go down there thinking, I hope that I pass, because I can only do 5, I can only do 4. You need to have done the work prior to going. You need to have that self-confidence in the back of your mind that you can pass this no matter what happens, all right? And once this is done, you'll then do a feet-to-beam demonstration. So you hold onto the beam and you have to kick your feet up to the beam, and this is more of a teach. And this is to show you the sort of form that you're going to be required to do when you get to rope climbing. So we do lots of rope climbing in Royal Marines basic training. The feet-to-beam is all about practicing that motion, all right? And once you have completed all of these things, we're now going to move on to the swim test. So the swim test is done in a pool on camp just next to the gym. And what you are expected to do is jump off a 3-metre diving board. No goggles allowed for this one. And then you've got to swim a length there, a length back, approximately 150 metres without touching the wall, come back and tread water 2 minutes. You then have to get out of the pool without touching the sides, and that is you done for the swim test. Ensure you have put in plenty of preparation with this. A lot of people don't practice swimming as much. They just hammer gym work or a little bit of running. Swimming is massive, and you do a lot of swimming in Royal Marines basic training. I struggled with this because, being honest, I did not put the work in prior to going, and I regretted it massively. So when you get to Lympstone, it's too late then. You've already signed yourself up for a world of pain if you're struggling swimming. And you do see people fail this. There was a lad on our CPC, it was called PRMC back then, who'd come over from the Caribbean. He'd obviously travelled quite far and clearly hadn't done a lot of swimming prior to coming. Jumped in off the top diving board and didn't resurface. And they had to throw in a pole for him to get pulled out with. The lifeguard saved him, and it was crack on from there. But what I'm saying is, don't rock up not being able to swim, jump in and cross your fingers and hope for the best, because a miracle won't happen. You need to have done the work, and you need to know in the back of your mind that you have what it takes to pass the test on the day. So you've finished your swim test, and you're now going down to the bottom field to do the high obstacle course. This is more of a teach, if anything, and a bit of a test of your nerve when it comes to height. So you go over the high obstacles, a little beam, a little wooden sort of thing to step over, some ropes, and then you go onto the bottom field assault course, and you get run round that. Bit of a show on how to do everything, what it's going to be like when you're getting thrashed around the bottom field in basic training, and a little beast in here. So that is day one of the CPC done, in the bag. So just get this done, get this first day done, and then the hardest part is coming on day two. Day two of the CPC, and you're being took up to the endurance course on Woodbury Common. And this is the determination test. This is the hard part. So you are basically thrashed round a series of underwater tunnels, little pools, Peter's pool, a bit of a sort of pond full of water on a rope, and all your kit is now soaking wet. You get thrashed around this course, and it's sort of uphill, gravel trails, doing hill sprints, doing crawling, doing fireman's carries, drags, press-ups, sit-ups, burpees, all of the painful stuff. So a big thing is to practice these before you go down there. And this is hard because doing fireman's carries, doing drags, it blows your legs out. So leg strength's massive. Making sure that you've worked with really fatigued legs is absolutely huge and a massive help in your preparation. Now, after this, you are thrashed here for a long time, and you're crawling through all sorts of stuff, sheep stuff, cow stuff, all of the mud, all of the good stuff. You've now got to run 4 miles back to camp, and if you fail this or drop back, you failed the whole course. So you need to make sure you stick with the pack here. Now, something that I say is practicing running on fatigued legs is not a bad thing, because quite a lot of people fail on running back with really, really jelly legs. They have never done it before, so maybe try it before you go. Because once your legs are blown from lots of fireman's carries and lots of drags, you are going to struggle. Another one is people cramp up here a lot. Now, add in a little bit of salt, a little bit of sodium to your food throughout your time there is going to help with that cramp. So drinking plenty of water, replenishing the salts that you sweat out during rigorous exercise. But once you've got this done, that is you finished with the physical tasks. A few more lectures whilst you're down there, a bit of an explanation as to what the ROP's going to be like, the recruit orientation phase, if you were fortunate enough to pass, and then you find out your results the next day, and you are on your way back home. So, you found out that you've passed your CPC. You've now been sent home, and you're waiting for the careers advisor to tell you when you will be returning to Lympstone to begin the ROP. The ROP, Recruit Orientation Phase, is a new thing which has been added in fairly recently. This wasn't there when I went through training back in 2009. But essentially, it's a 4-week induction, and it's a bit more of a teach than a thrashing, beasting, goosing. You are inducted, you are shown into what life's going to be like in training. You want to arrive here with a good level of fitness and strength still, obviously. But you are taught a lot of things here, and this is more of an induction before you actually start the 32 weeks of solid basic training. If you pass everything on the ROP, from your mini field exercises to fitness tests, you now start mainstream training, and you're going to move into week 1, day 1, week 1, into your foundation block. So foundation block is a giant long room with 60 beds in it plus, and you are all thrown in here. And this is basically the shock of capture of what it's going to be like to live with this many people. This is where you are taught how to iron, how to fold, how to polish your boots, how to shower properly. Now, when I went through training, I'd played rugby previously, so I'd showered with men, in the past before. But for a lot of people, they haven't seen that. And when you are in a shower block being demonstrated how to shower by a man, it's quite intimidating, and don't let it sort of put you off. But you are shown everything of how to clean yourself, your kit, how to look after your kit, and all of the basics here. The most deadly weapon you'll handle here will probably be an iron, and that That's about as good, as fun as it gets for the first few weeks. You have to earn the right to progress into training, use rifles, use machine guns, and use things like grenades. So you've left foundation block, and now you've moved into phase 1 of training. And this is giving you all of the skills that you need to progress to phase 2, the commando phase, and then to become a Royal Marines Commando. So you learn all of the basics here. This is how to map read, how to use a compass, how to look after your weapon, how to shoot, and all of the good stuff like that. You'll even do a survival exercise when you learn how to catch and kill food, build shelters and build fires and survive on your own in the wild. Now you are going to go to all of the decent places, all of the best places where you want to go and spend time. Woodbury Common and Dartmoor, right? And you're going to become very familiar with both of these places here. So when I went through phase 1, it was actually summertime, so it wasn't too bad for us. It was phase 2 where we picked up all of the bad weather. But in phase 1, you're starting to do fitness on camp, all of your camp circuits. So running round camp, it's like an 800 to 1,000 metre run. The PTIs will like smash you around it. Pays to be a winner, so the first 3 don't have to go again. And I think I ran around it so many times, I started going dizzy. You do it with a log, you do it with a mat, you're doing beastings inside the gym and learning how to rope climb. Phase 1 is all about the sort of gym work, and it's not a gym like a sort of pure gym back at home. It's more of a sort of sports hall, and you're doing running round, sprinting, press-ups, rope climbing, pull-ups, everything very military, very methodical. Before you move on to phase 2, where you'll start to move to the bottom field and do a lot more of the nitty-gritty, almost like military fitness. So fireman's carries, crawling, the sort of muddy stuff, the hard stuff like that. So phase 1, a few exercises, weapons handling, safety. This is giving you the right to do the more advanced stuff. So you have to get through phase 1. It is quite admin heavy, but once you get through phase 1, you then get a bit more relaxed towards phase 2, because the admin doesn't become the priority, because you're trusted that you can do that now. And what becomes the priority is the more advanced soldiering and soldiering skills. The exercises get harder, everything progresses, and I remember personally that when I finished phase 1 and I knew I was moving into phase 2, I was really looking forward to this part, because this is where it sort of becomes big boy rules. This is where you become more of a Marine than just a soldier. So let's talk about phase 2. So phase 2 of training, and as we've said, this starts to get harder now. And with it getting harder, what I found is a lot of the people who you thought would definitely pass training, when you looked around on like the first day and there was big strong guys and all these guys who you would have put money on would pass first time, a lot have left now. A lot have got injured or have been backtrooped. And you can take a lot of confidence from this because you're still there. And if you had put a bet on the first day about who would pass and who would fail, not many people would probably win that bet, because a lot of people that you thought don't make it through. Now, phase 2, the exercises get longer and you start doing a lot more troop level stuff. So phase 1's a bit more section level, so working in teams of 4 to 8, and now it becomes troop level. So using 3 or 4 sections of 8, the exercises get bigger, the budget gets bigger, and everything that you're starting to learn becomes a lot more complex, but the weapons get better. So rather than just your normal SA-80 rifle, you are now moving up to sort of GPMG, LMG, everything like this, and all of the good stuff that you want to get hands on. And with the exercises becoming better, they are getting harder too. You do a lot more yomping, a lot more carrying the heavy weight, the long distances over Dartmoor, over wherever you go. Now, in particular, a couple of standout exercises for me along this phase were the final 2. It was called Violent Entry and Final Exercise back then. And Violent Entry for us was so bad because the weather was horrendous. And I know everyone says the weather was bad for them, but it was bad. It was really bad. You were yomping up a hill and the wind was blowing people over because the wind would catch their Bergens and they would blow over. It was snowing, it was raining, everything all at once. But when you get into the later stages of training, I think these things become not as bad as if it was in the first few weeks, because you've had loads of it by now, and you're starting to get used to it, and you're a lot closer to the end goal, and you're not really thinking about quitting. So the final exercise is a culmination of everything that you've learned so far. So big troop attacks, offshore raids on boats. You'll be doing big yomps for hours and hours and hours. The biggest yomps that you've ever done yet with the heaviest kit, and everything between. So this was the hardest exercise that I did 100%. But because it's your final exercise, the carrot's being dangled. One of these is being dangled. You're not far away now from earning your own Royal Marines Green Beret. Now, the Marines are a lot different to other regiments, other units, and you are not given the beret that you wear for your career at the very start. So when you get to training, you're given a blue beret. It's similar, but just blue with a little red here. And that's to show you are in the early phases of Royal Marines training. The Marines believe you have to earn your Green Beret. It's not given to you, and it's the hardest thing you'll ever earn in your whole life. When you get to the later stages of training, you are given a cap comforter, and it's like a green sort of woolly hat, and that means you're in the final phase of training. But when you wear this, you have to run everywhere around camp, anywhere. So it's to start getting you used to always running, always shuffling, building up to that 30-miler, and to show that you are at the very end of training. And when you're walking around camp and you're in week 2, week 3, you see people with these and you think, wow, I'll be there one day. And you use it as motivation. And when you see the training team wearing these, that is the ultimate motivation. And you think, I want my own one of those one day. So the whole way through training, you're just thinking, I want to earn one of those. I want to get one. But to get one now, standing in your way are the final 4 commando tests. So the first commando test is the endurance course. Now, we've already mentioned this on the CPC, but this is a bit of a harder version. So you are running this in full military uniform, boots, a webbing belt, 21 pounds in, and carrying your rifle. Now, the endurance course is like a sort of off-road gravel track with a series of underwater tunnels. Some are called Smarty tubes, and they're very sort of narrow tunnels, and it's water filled to there, and you have to sort of like get through and not take in water, all the way to the sheep dip, which is in a team of 3. One person will dunk you under, like this table, shove you under, and the person on that side will pull you out. All of your kit, all of you are now soaking wet and everything like that. And you've got to run around this whole course and run back to camp, run over the bridge, over the main road to get back to camp, and then pass the shooting test to make sure you've kept your rifle serviceable throughout this. And if you fail the shoot even by one shot, you have to redo the whole course. So this is quite hard in that sense. Yeah, it's about being a soldier, not just a fitness test, but ready to fight at the other end. So when we ran this, this was December or January. It was cold, very cold, and your hair was wet and your hair froze on the way back. And my rifle actually froze. I had to kick the cocking handle, which I wouldn't recommend, to get it working again, fill it with oil to pass the shooting test. But on Peter's pool, one of the main pools prior to going in, the team which ran first had to break the ice. It was cold. So, yeah, with these, it depends when you start training as to what sort of weather you will get with these. But this was a good test. It was a hard one. Now, you practice the endurance course twice prior to running it. And I'd never passed it until the day. So I was worried about this one, being honest. But I managed to pass. I actually had a couple of friends who were in Hunter Troop, which is like the injury troop, and they came to meet me down one of the lanes and ran part of it in with me. Obviously, that's not in the rule book, but it happened. And they gave me some extra support when I needed it most, and I made it back in time and managed to pass the shoot. So the next test is the 9-mile speed march, which, as it says, is a 9-mile speed march. It's walk and run. So anything uphill, you'll generally walk and stride out. Anything flat or downhill, you will run. It is an individual test, yes, you have to pass, but it's done as a troop rather than best effort. A PTI will be your pacer for this to set the correct pace. You have to carry 21 pounds of weight in your webbing belt and your rifle again. So with this, throughout training, you have prepared your kit and you've sort of got used to how it works for you, but you really want to make sure this sits well around your hips, because the slightest bit of movement, you're going to get chafage, you're going to get burn, and everything like that. You want it so it sits right, sits tight, and by this point, you have it well squared away. You know how it sits for you, and it's nice and comfortable. This test is hard, but being honest, for me, this was the easiest test. I could just sort of jog away, switch off, and get this one done. No one failed this one for us. Everyone passed. But yeah, another hard test. And then once you've passed this, you're on to the Tarzan Assault course. So the Tarzan Assault course, this is a series of high obstacles, also carrying all of your kit, high ropes, high jumps, everything like that. A sort of commando death slide where you hold this rope over a fast sort of zip wire. You have to trust yourself here, use all of your upper body strength to not let go, and zip down the line. After that, the high obstacle course, a jump to a cargo net, a half regain on one of the high ropes, and then jump down and run down to the assault course on the bottom field. Now, you have to get round the whole assault course before you can run back up, climb the 30-foot wall, and shout out your second name so that the PTI can mark off that you've come in under the time or over the time. Now, this for me was a very hard test because this is a full-on sprint. The cut-off time back then was 13 minutes, and it doesn't sound like much because it doesn't take that long, but this is hard. This is a hard one. It's a lung burner. You can taste your lungs. You feel like they're going to come out of your mouth, and you just have to get this one done as best effort. With the likes of the 9-mile speed march, you can cruise along, but this is best effort. This is fast. This one hurts, and you want to get this one done straight away. Any fear of heights, anything like that, you have definitely eradicated by this point of training, especially going up the 30-foot wall and all of the high obstacles on this one. But get this one done. That's the third one, and then you've got your final test to go, the 30-miler across Dartmoor. So, the 30-miler. This is the final commando test, and this is what your whole training has led up to. 8 hours as a troop, although you split down into smaller sections, to run across Dartmoor with your 21 pounds, your rifle, and your day sack, which is carrying all of your food, water, safety supplies, and medical kit. This, for me, is still the most horrendous thing I've ever done in my entire life. Like, this was awful. And I've run further than that since, and this is still the hardest thing by a mile. I don't know what it is. Everyone says when you get to this point, you just cruise round and that's it, done. But it's still hard. It hurts. However, at the finish line, waiting is one of these. That's it. You are awarded your very own when you finish this. So I'll be honest, I dropped back on this pretty early. I was struggling in a really, really bad way. And my section corporal back then was supposed to run the first leg with me, the first sort of 6 miles, and then get the wagon to the final leg and then run us in over Humpback Bridge where it finishes. And he actually ran the whole 30-miler with me to help me, which I've still never forgot to this day. And it was, yeah, like I said, the most horrendous thing that I've ever done, but nothing since has compared to the feeling when you get that done, when you finish that off. And one of my other corporals said he'd never seen someone struggle that much and still pass, which shows that you don't have to be the fittest person to do this, but you have to be the person who is never going to quit. No matter how hard this is, no matter how much pain you're in, no matter how much everything's telling you to stop, if you just keep going and keep going and keep going and don't quit, you will get there one day and you will pass. The final leg over Humpback Bridge, you run over as a troop, and all of your section corporals, your training team, and all of the higher ranks are there to sort of clap you over the bridge in a tunnel, and you are then presented with your green beret, and your hand gets shook, and you're welcome to the club. And there's no feeling like it. Everything that you've done has led up to this moment, and it was the proudest moment of your whole life. I do say that training is the hardest thing I've ever done, and it is, but it is worth it for this moment. that point, there is nothing better. There is nowhere you would rather be. Everything you've done has come to this, and it is so worth it. So make sure you get there, make sure you don't give up, and make sure you get it done. So you've finished your 30 miler now, and you are now going into the King Squad. So the King Squad is your final drill parade, your like pass out parade, when you officially become a Royal Marines Commando. All of your family come to watch. It's a really proud day. And straight after your 30 miler, you've got 2 weeks to practice drill. Now, this was quite funny because everyone's feet were ripped to shreds, absolute blisters, everything. And you've then got to put your drill boots on and go marching for 2 weeks. So there was a lot of people limping around for the first few days, but we finally got there. This is where anyone who has been awarded a prize throughout training is presented it in front of their family. So there's the King's Badge, which is awarded to the best overall recruit as voted for by the training team. And they wear this badge on their sleeve for their entire career. There's only one in each troop. They actually don't award it to certain troops if they didn't feel anyone was worthy. And we then move on to the Commando Medal. Now, the Commando Medal is voted for by your peers. So everyone in your troop votes for the person who stood out to them the most, who's provided the most morale to the troop, been the best bloke overall in terms of unselfish, will always help others, put others first, keep up the troops' morale, and help anyone else before themselves. Now, this is a really good one to be awarded because it's not given by the training team because they miss certain things, but the people within your troop see everything, and they award this to the person who they deem to have been their best bloke throughout training. So it's a real honour to get this one. There are other awards such as the fittest recruit and the best shot. And then you are finally given the words, Royal Marines, to your duty, quick march. The parade's finished. Your parents clap you over, and that's you done. You then get to have a pint with your training team, and you're on the road back home before being deployed to your commando unit. Now, prior to the pass-out parade, you get to put in for your choice of which commando unit you want to go to. And if there are ways they can accommodate that, they always do. I put in for 4-5 Commando. That was my first choice, and I got my first choice. Everyone else within our troop put in for 4-2 Commando, bar a few lads, and they all got their first choice too. But the troop after us all got sent to 40 Commando because 40 Commando needed more people. So it does depend on the situation within the Marines at that time. But you are then sent straight off to your commando unit the following Monday if you haven't been put on any extended driver training, and then you start your life as a Royal Marine. So when you get to your unit, you can expect to be sent straight to your troop, your new company and troop, and then you are met with your new friends, basically. So you think going through basic training, these people are going to be your friends forever because you build this strong bond with them. But you all get split up afterwards, and you all get sent to different troops. And these are now the people that you would live with, you would train with, and you would eventually go out and fight with. And this is where you really settle into your life. You get to move into a room. You're in there. You become a bit more relaxed because you're not being shouted at and screamed at daily, and you can build up a bit of your own life here. Up at 4-5 Commando, there's not a lot of nightlife, to be honest. So a lot of people start to go to the gym, start playing sport for the Marines. I played rugby, and you can really start to get on some decent trips. Now, I passed training, and within a month, I was sent to Canada, and I did 2 months training out in Alberta, which was great. I volunteered to be a battle casualty replacement for 40 Commando for Herrick 12. Wasn't sent, but then managed to get sent out on operations for 4-5 Commando on Op Herrick 14 in Afghanistan. So it does depend what is coming up for you, and there's always something going on. You'll be sent all over the world. You'll meet the absolute best friends that you've ever had. You'll make stories and make memories that your friends from home probably won't believe you on, and you'll get to see the world doing it. So it is a great way of life. I recommend it to anyone. And I personally think that being in the Marines gave me a lot more confidence. My stammer was horrendous when I was younger. It's still come up during this video, but it's nowhere near as bad as what it was. And the confidence that I learned from my time in the Marines definitely helped with that. I also had life experiences that not many people at my age had probably had then. I was blown up by a grenade in Afghan when I was 18, and most of my friends were still going to school or on family holidays with their parents, so it was slightly different, and it sets you up for life in a different way. You know, the experiences that you get, how it builds you, molds you, and shapes you as a person, and the amount of transferable skills that you can take from this and take into future life is massive, and I do recommend it to anyone. If you are looking to join the Royal Marines and you want a little bit of help with your preparation, we are Civvy2Commando, and we basically help bridge the gap between civilian and commando. So we help people prepare for the Marines with training programs, military experience weekend camps, and mentoring. But we're also branching into the corporate world. We're doing public speaking, we're doing corporate training days, and corporate coaching. As well as this, we are expanding in all different directions. And if you would like to get in touch with us, we're on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Civvy2Commando, CIVVY 2 or www.civvy2commando.com. I look forward to hearing from you soon and adding you to our growing list of success stories. We've already helped lots of people pass Royal Marines training first time, and we can't wait to hear from you. Thank you for listening to this series and for putting up with my stammer for the whole thing. Really appreciate it. Check out the episode that we've done with Big Phil Campion, and thank you very much. Check us out on Civvy2Commando.com and speak to you soon.